intelligent, smart players, and I'm very excited to see what they're going to bring out as far as the builds go. We are loaded into Lightshade to kick off this TVP, and in the bottom right, we have the red Terran player representing Team Liquid. He is uThermal.
And spawning over in the top left-hand side, also from Team Liquid, it is MaNa. Yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting one, because we've seen MaNa already against Hearthstone, and he looked pretty damn good. I can't recall off the top of my head who uThermal played in his first game. I think he went 2-0. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, these two going at it, I feel they're both in very similar shape right now, both pretty damn solid. And yeah, I know that they're both not the biggest fan of this matchup, so this is when fireworks can happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially when you want to avoid playing in those scenarios that you may not think are necessarily leveraged in your favor or what have you. Whichever polite or rude way you want to say it, you're going to try to avoid those, and sometimes that means that you're doing a pretty funky build, or you're going to try to hit an unusual timing, or you're going to just say, I will commit to a big push by this point because I don't want to go past it. And that's, I think, what makes it exciting. I think back to the last time when there were a lot of conversations around, it's like, oh, what's good, what's too strong, and uThermal, he kind of always does crazy stuff the more that he doesn't like the matchup. So that just has me even more excited for it because, I want to see that weird stuff. The Muslim, I'm a freak.
Oh, I know you are, Nate. I had you on my couch for a good month or so in Stockholm, But yeah, this game, so uThermal is 2-0 so far. I think that was going up against, if I'm looking at this. In fact, I have no idea. I know who, like, Lilbo played against Cyril for sure. Maybe it was against Lilbo already, I think, given that he has lost twice in this group so far. But yeah, uThermal went for the 1 Marine, the Reactor, and he's going for the 3-axe opening. I think this is a very good way to go about a match against MaNa. MaNa very often will kind of just do whatever he wants to do. Actually, when I was playing him, there was a few builds that I thought he did really well, but then he did 1 or 2 that was just like, why would you do this? Like, what is this good against? And they can get very much shut down by 3-axe plays. So I like the fact that uThermal's going for this, just to make sure that worst case scenario, he gets into a normal game. Best case scenario, MaNa did something a little bit funky, and it'll get splattered.
Oh yeah, and he did. It was Lilbo that he defeated in the first his first match of this group, Benjamin, quite deftly, as it were. The bunker's going up in front of the natural, so the stalker's going to come do its pokey poke thing. But as long as he keeps cycling these guys out, he should be okay. And eventually they'll get healed whenever he gets medevacs down the line. Stim is on the way, so that is the direction that we're heading. He's not no funky cyclone cheddar or anything like that. Not this time, as MaNa has his robotics facility on the way. He's getting blink, very standard things that we expect to see. And I guess the real question is this going to be a mid-game oriented, like I'm going to go for Marines and then do a quick follow-up attack? Because he's, as far as the gas count goes, he's only got 1. So he hasn't moved into the factory at all, right? This is just going to be like a big Marine attack.
Yeah, there's right? Like nearly every 3-axe kind of revolves around this idea that you're just going to do a push on your opponent and then see where you are afterwards. Like sometimes they can die, sometimes you're in even shape. If you go for a blink opening, like a 4-gate, that's like maybe one of the things you really don't want to run into, or like a DT drop kind of play, because then it can get real feisty. We see that MaNa's going for a Robo Bay here with 2 gateway or 3 gateway blink, getting his 3rd on the way, this is kind of what Parding has been doing a lot in PvT, just really kind of thriving off 2 base, getting a later 3rd base and being safe. But it can also, like, this transition is very quick from MaNa, and this could bite him a little bit, but Observer gets a nice scout.
Yep, flows right over, gets a great look at that army as it steps forward. And of course, you're trying to bait stuff. You want to poke and trim the fat on this bio ball as much as you can before it reaches your base. And so far, he's doing that just fine. Gets his blink back. He's already killed a decent amount of the Marines and immediately stims as Stim finishes. But there's the overcharge. I tell you what, the energy will come back for that. But the health for these bio units without medevacs, it ain't coming back, Ben. And he's going to chase the rest of this down, forces another stim, and then he just says, okay, I'll wait a second and then make my move forward. And interesting enough, he's going straight for Gravitic Drive, which is the Warp Prism speed upgrade. So that's making me feel like he is looking for some very fancy moves and potentially a quick kill if uThermal is not able to defend against this next assault.
Okay, yeah, this is the kind of fancy stuff that I'm like, is this the best move though? Like, this could be a little bit silly. So this is when I can get a little bit critical, but like, it's one of those lottery ticket things, right? You can be like, I bought 10 lottery tickets, didn't get anything. It's like, well, bought 10 lottery tickets and I won the freaking lottery. So, you know, joke's on you kind of thing. And yeah, with disruptors and getting this very late third base, he's definitely putting a lot of his eggs in one basket here. But if it pays off, yeah, it super pays off. I am a little bit worried for him because uThermal's army with the medevacs and stuff, if he gets counterattacked at some point, if these disruptors don't do anything, he's in trouble.
MaNa can't help it, Ben. He's a crowd pleaser. He wants all the Protoss homies out there to get some fist pumps in the air, see a couple of big disruptor shots hit. And the thing is, this early, if the Prism just comes by, I was going to say, is he going to be expecting that? But he does immediately unload and shoot with the disruptor. First one's going to get a couple of the Marauders, but oh man, losing that Prism is absolutely brutal. Can't get the disruptors out of harm's way. And to Muslim, you basically just, I don't know if your eyes glazed over for a second and you were talking to me from the future, if you had your crystal ball in front of you, but you are very in tune with things that are about to happen. Can you tell me what's going to happen next?
So I would love to. Okay, Mad Mark over here, aka uThermal, is going to do a push. It's not going to be stopped by any means because MaNa literally spent like, I don't know, 600 minerals, like 500 gas on getting out those 2 disruptors with that Warp Prism, which with Warp Prism speed, by the way, like, yeah, just tried to be way too fancy. MaNa's still got a chance because he shut down the 3-rack super damn hard. He actually did it super well. But yeah, he's this is where the game gets really hard for him now.
Yeah, he's going to be approaching this ramp. At least, you know, you got a decent position here, but is there much to deal with if you were to just yeet into the main base? These are the things that you got to be really careful about. The Observer sieging up, given a little bit more vision coverage for this, but MaNa's put himself into a kind of awkward spot. You had that nice early defense, then you lose a bunch of those big power units. The Colossus is going to be a much more stable for holding on against these types of attacks, but it does hurt a lot because, you know, it's that investment into the Prism, which obviously losing that really sucks because they're not really ever meant to die. But on top of that, he had the speed upgrade for it too, which meant it really shouldn't have died. So as long as he can get through these next couple of minutes and get these upgrades rolling, you start to feel a little bit better. But uThermal is not one to let his opponent sit around too much, I don't think.
No, it definitely isn't. And this is a Widowmine drop getting ready. Niall very quick to spot that and seeing where it gets sent out. And you see that MaNa has gone for double forge here. He also hasn't started his thermal lance, and he's getting his second Colossus out here. And uThermal's just trying to... He's using a lot of scans instead of mules, just finding out where his opponent is. And it's like, okay, you're not in the natural. Where are you? You've got to be in the main, right? So, and this Observer does see absolutely everything. I think MaNa's doing a really good job of spacing out his army, but it's going to get tricky very soon.
Yeah, he's trying to use that. He's got that drop set up on that bottom side. We'll see if that comes in as he just kind of gives a little tap on that gateway. He's like, that's right. Look at me over here. Look at my army. Wow, it's so great, so colorful. Boom, mine drop in the third. There are stalkers already there, but they can't kill the mines quickly enough, and 11 probes are going to get devastated by those Widow mines. One does also burrow in the natural, gets up to 16 total. And you can really see the power of those Widow mines shining through, obliterating probes left and right. Quite difficult to deal with as a toss player if you can't kill them before they burrow.
No, absolutely. uThermal, he's in the driver's seat now, and he's got 1-1 against 0-0 currently. Thermal Lance still hasn't been started yet. I hope that it isn't a forgetful thing, because it often can be. And yeah, uThermal's just, he's in the face of MaNa, and that's exactly where MaNa doesn't want him. He wants space right now, but yeah, uThermal's not slowing down.
Absolutely not. Has that double drop on the bottom. And this is where, as the Protoss player, you have to make the difficult choices. How do you spread the army? How do you split it? Do you leave it, more of it in one place than another? He has the overcharge battery to help out in the natural expansion with just that one Colossus with about, I guess like 40 supply of Terran Bio right there. And the smaller portion on the bottom side, he's got 2 of the Colossi to deal with. So that third base is very, very secure and natural. He is trying to get him to commit everything to the expansion so that he can start to wedge his way over towards that main base, maybe for a big drop. But MaNa leading out a couple of forces here and there. He's still been building up the big, powerful tech units, though, Ben. He's got 3 Colossi, 2 Disruptors, 4 Sentries with this. Not a lot of... I'm not really 100% sure what the next move is, because getting a 4th base when you're being, kind of postured against like this, it's got to be really, really difficult for MaNa to make his next move here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if MaNa's just like, you know what, I'm sick of this, and just goes for like a 2-2 timing here, or maybe when uThermal lands. But with the way that uThermal stood right outside his base, he's doing a good job of just making sure that that can't be done by MaNa. And he's just making sure that he's not taking a 4th base or anything like that. uThermal's definitely on song this game.
Yeah, he's putting on a lot of pressure, steps forward, snipes the Colossus, and it's going to come back. There is a Widow Mine here to help deal with some of the chasing units too, so paying off in spades. There is an observer over that place, but it wasn't actually able to see the mine because it's like, I want to see everything, so I'll move the observer even further out. You don't get to see the mine, but now it does finally clean it up. But if you're uThermal, you're going to land that 4th command center. The Protoss does not have the 4th Nexus started because you've been camping them the whole game outside their base with your army. And MaNa, he's showing that respect to uThermal. He did not try to force anything too hardcore, but he's down about 15 workers, which is kind of wild if you think about it. The Terran's supposed to be trying to use the mules to get ahead, but now he's not only ahead on workers, he has mules too. So for uThermal, you're sitting pretty, you're super rich, you're maxed out, life is good. Just don't take a bad fight and throw the game. And if you're MaNa, it's looking for those opportunities to get that chunk play so you can really clot back and just hold on, get that 4th base situated as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I love that MaNa's getting this Zealot run by going, because I mean, there isn't a hell of a lot to stop it, but uThermal's being aggressive. He knows that he's in a good position here to deal damage, but MaNa's going to try and buy time. uThermal just have a rally back at home, and the Disruptor getting a pretty juicy hit to start things off. MaNa can't get too crazy, though, but maybe this is it. Maybe that 4th base was just like, you know what, I can't get it up. Now this Zealot run by buys me time. Now I can get aggressive and in your face.
Yeah, it just feels like you're running out of options a little bit. The Terran has a 4th command center done. The Ghost EMP upgrade is good. And by done, I mean he's got a planetary there. So he is beyond secure from any sort of light harass. It's going to take a gargantuan effort to tackle that base. And you know that uThermal's not going to give you that opportunity to set up around it because he wants to constantly be attacking you. And as long as he keeps his production rolling, he's going to be more than happy. But since he is maxed out, you want to try to trade. You leverage that economic advantage, burn some of this supply, replenish it quickly, or at least faster than MaNa can, and seal the deal on this game 1, because you still don't want to give MaNa all the time to max out on a well-rounded Protoss army.
No, you don't. I mean, the Disruptor count's already at 7, and MaNa, Shield Battery Overcharge is buying him some time, keeping a few of these units alive. And look at uThermal, got the Ghost flank here with the EMPs on the whole army. Shield Battery is done now. And look at that, he's still got an army on the right side, but these Ghosts need to be careful. Lovely splits from uThermal, and MaNa.
Around.
That's it. Oh, beautiful splits from uThermal, it's got to be said. His units are demagnetized against these, and MaNa's army just melted away.
Absolutely insane splits and spreads by uThermal. It gets a full surround on the army and takes game number 1 against MaNa to Muslim. That's I mean, you talk about supply differences, you talk about the things that you would say are difficult to deal with, right? A lot of Terran players love to say, oh, the Disruptor is super hard. But then you get a guy like uThermal. I don't know how much he hates Disruptors, but clearly he has the ability to play around them, and he did that incredibly well. I don't know how 7 Disruptors all shoot and kill like 2 Marauders for all of that, but that's how it went down, and uThermal's got to be feeling good. I think MaNa will reconsider whether or not he wants to do something like a double Disruptor speed prism rush, or at least send it into the main as like a harass thing while your Stalkers are pressuring the front.
Yeah, I was pretty critical of MaNa's builds when I played him. I gotta admit, because I was like, what is this? It was like a 3 Adept opening into a Robo build, and I was like, huh? Or like just none of it really lined up, which makes me think that he's not super confident in the matchup right now, which is often when you're trying things. But there's a lot of very good Protoss players out there with very regular builds that I think would suit MaNa a treat. But yeah, that going for that speed prism double disruptor drop, that bit him, because he actually handled the 3 racks initially super well. He killed like 12 Marines, not losing anything, and he got his 3rd up and stuff. It was just yeah, I'd love to see if he went into something like Colossus or just something more regular. He was laughing as the Warp Prism died and lost the disruptors and stuff, because yeah, that was quite a throw by him.
Yeah, tough situation to be in. We'll see if he can bounce back on 2,000 atmospheres. But I couldn't agree with you anymore. At the beginning of that game, it went perfectly. Even as right before Stim was finishing, he was able to pick off about like a quarter of the Marines. Then he forces the Stim. He has the overcharge ready, cleaned it all up, and then said, "I'm going to do the one thing that could probably burn this lead." And unfortunately, it went as badly as it could have. So, perhaps turning things around as we get to map number 2, spawning in the bottom left position of 2,000 atmospheres. We have the red Terran player from Team Liquid. He's uThermal.
And spawning over in the top right as the blue Protoss, it is MaNa. Nice early probe moving out here. I think it came after the pylon. I could be a little bit wrong, but yeah, nice early probe scout just to make sure that he's not up against anything wild, because that's something we haven't really talked about too much. Like, I know we've talked about uThermal being this kind of guy that can go mech and stuff, but he's also the kind of guy, like, I will never forget him doing or just bringing proxy racks back in really weird ways, in the super crazy ways, like 4 barracks against Serral back in the day. So yeah, you gotta respect the fact that uThermal isn't just a solid micro Terran. He's also a very, very crazy Terran that can actually do it all and fall back on just raw mechanics.
Yeah, and that's, I think, there's no better example of that than the final moments of Game 1, where you basically just saw the bio army, as you said it, they were like magnetized to be repelled by the disruptor shots. They just could not stick, and little fancy SCV footwork gets rid of that probe in the base, while he sends one across the map to scout. And that's a very powerful tool to have, because you as of course you're 100% right, uThermal can do a lot of weird stuff. You could play mech, you could do some cyclone cheese, God knows what, but he can also do the most cookie cutter standard build and out micro the crap out of you. And here uThermal gets talked about as a player who can kind of go in and out of it. He can be a guy that's like he's a whole different player when he's in the zone compared to when he takes a tough loss and, he gets a little bit tilted. Then you see, the seams kind of start to come apart. But he hasn't made any of those mistakes yet today, and he's looking damn good because of it.
Yeah, definitely. Like the 3x opening going up against the Blink Stalker build, that is kind of one build that you're like, damn, this doesn't feel the best. And he kind of got caught before Stim and Combat Shield was done, but that was just nice play by MaNa. But yeah, everything else. This game, though, very different opening by uThermal. You see that factory on the way, and he didn't get the reactor beforehand. He was like, no, I'm waiting for the gas to get the factory, then they're going to get the reactor. So we could be seeing something a little bit crazy, maybe like a starport on the map. And as I was thinking it, there it is. And it's in such a spot that you'd be like, you're going to scout that, right? Which I don't think he is,
Well, missing. I mean, finding it would be as big as if he misses it, right? And that's a definitely not a spot you don't want to be able to get tabs on. It's an Oracle opening this time as the Adept approaches, and he has that second one about to finish. But I mean, you see that, and does that give you the heads up that you're kind of looking for, Ben, with the Adept shade? You see the reactor factory, and there's really only one thing that the Terran could be doing, right?
Well, there's 2. There is, there's, in fact, there's 3.
If it's not the drop, I mean, he's going to wall off the front, right?
Yeah,
be a drop.
It's going to be a drop. It's going to be a drop. And I think what's better against the drop, actually, like he's making a Phoenix now. I think if you've gone for Oracle, getting a second Oracle is better. And if you've gone for 1 Phoenix, getting a second Phoenix is better. Like, go with what you've already got and really, like, hammer down on that. Because that 1 Phoenix, what's it going to do? It's going to pick up a probe or just be, like, on the medevac. But yeah, we'll see what he can get done. I think MaNa's actually in a really good position to hold this off so far. Does prop the pulsar beam straight away, and I guess now he's on a little bit of a clock with his Phoenix, which is annoying for MaNa. And I'll take it back a little bit. I think MaNa dealt with that very, very well.
I think it was the Adepts that made it so he didn't need another Oracle. Because you're right, though. I mean, like, the one Phoenix couldn't kill anything really on its own, but having 3 Adepts means he doesn't really need to. He just needs to buy a little bit of time so that he can just pick off the medevac normally. And he does that absolutely flawlessly. So the Hellion opener, proxy starport, it all kind of ends up as a wash. Doesn't even get to keep the medevac for any sort of follow-up. And now we start to look at, I don't know, it gives me a little bit of Acheron vibes. Maybe these Phoenix are going to be able to keep some pressure on him and just kind of lock him out of some of the harass. If the Hellions aren't able to find another opportunity, MaNa's maybe going to play a little bit more defensively than our previous Protoss. But I still think that if you're looking at this, just don't start Warp Prism speed and 2 disruptors. I think everything's cool. Go through your normal game flow, get that 3rd saturated, be happy, enjoy your life.
I think you're absolutely right. And he sees this and he's like, okay, 3 barracks. All right, we're into a very, very normal game here. Which is, okay, how do I stop this? You can get charge lots out, you can get Colossus out, you can get a lot of things. A lot of Protoss these days, they'll go for like the 8 to 10 gate style where you just overwhelm it with gateways and you just stay on very low tech. But he's going to go for the style where he also gets the Robo Bay. I hope it is into Colossus. Oh, nice pickup on these Hellions.
Great grab. Yeah, Colossus, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
I'm
I hope
definitely on the same page there. Yeah, I feel like he's setting himself up for an opportunity where uThermal's going to have to make that big push. Because if you talk about what he has going for him, he's already been scouted, right? The 3 barracks, he's got this full setup, etc. He knows that there's a starport because obviously that was part of the proxy earlier. But what there isn't is that 3rd command center. Now, Protoss has the 3rd Nexus already up and running, and he hasn't even started that 3rd. So you're not really giving yourself a ton of options. He does now, just as I say that, begin the 3rd CC. But I think if you're MaNa, you got to be thinking that as long as you defend whatever comes at you next, you should generally be way ahead on the economy.
Oh, way ahead, yeah. I mean, like, his probe count's decent as well, because he knows that a push is coming. So being at, like, let's say if he stops at 61, I wouldn't mind that at all. And actually, he's got a pretty decent-ish start to an army. He's got 6 gateways already done. So he's in pretty decent shape to whip out a lot of units quickly as well. Just has to respect the push and not overprobe, which he has absolutely stopped that. He's got a 2nd pylon at those 2 batteries as well, just making sure that if the pylon gets sniped, he's fine. I think MaNa's actually setting himself up very nicely here.
Yeah, the position looks great. He has so many zealots too. There's very little opportunity to try and dive on that Colossus. They're all going to get body blocked very quickly. Range for the Colossus is almost done, and he's basically pushed this first attack back. So he's bought himself, I think, enough time to get that upgrade. And the Phoenix, they're not quite in position to catch that drop if it were to head straight there, but he's being mindful of it. And as long as he keeps looking over there, then whenever it comes in, he should be able to at least do something before they all unload and kill half his probe line in 2 seconds.
Yeah, and MaNa will find that drop on the right side. It is unloaded, though, so won't be able to get it down, but he was quick enough to also pull back before losing a Phoenix. And, oh, look at uThermal. He is like, only 5 Phoenix? That's fine. I can deal with that, right? Which I think is actually... When I see that drop heading over to that right side of the map, I'm not sure it's the play, but maybe he just feels it's too darn solid over on that left side to do anything.
Yeah, it's a tense situation. The Adept at the tower is going to see this drop coming back. I think the Phoenix see an opportunity, maybe come in, just snipe the medevac and dip. But the Marines would have a pretty decent heads up. So I guess you send the Zealots over this way too with this move out. It's not the craziest army, but it is still scary. You're not going to be fighting this without everything that you have.
I feel like that medevac with those 6 Marines or so was just bait. Like, as soon as he gave up the tower, like everything's moving over now to uThermal's base, and that drop in the bottom right, obviously not scouted, but he needs to move with it now because MaNa's setting himself up for a massive attack here, and uThermal, he has no idea this is coming. They're both just looking to kill each other, and neither one of them really knows what's going on, but this is going to be chaos.
Yeah, Widowmine gets a decent shot on some of those Zealots on the outside, but this spy army is coming back. And Ben, what you were talking about, that drop though, the triple drop is making its way into the main base. Has the Nexus selected. The Zealots are going to be defended in that natural, and there is the recall, the big recall. So he says, okay, I wasn't able to maybe move out and get that third base because the attack hit too soon, but he was able to take the pressure off of himself by having that option out on the right side. So nicely done there. Leaves one Marine behind just to be super annoying. The Prism was still in warp mode, so it has to be undone to get away from that Nexus. The uThermal finds himself at the end of all of it. He's still able to get some really nice pressure on this fourth base. And if he kills that, that would be absolutely amazing for him. 4 Widow Mines trying to cover on the tail end, get some Zealots and some Phoenix. I think that base, yeah, finishes up. It's defended for the most part, and he's going to try and dive in on the third. Now uThermal is going to force a fight, grabs that Nexus, says, okay, you weren't able to get here fast enough. Woe is you. The rest of the army is trying to chase, but you got to know he's waiting to go on that fourth. Again, uThermal is just picking up speed, and he's not slowing down.
You know what surprised me about all this, Nate? Okay, he just walked in 8 High Templars, but MaNa's had a massive bank amidst all this. He was on like 2k gas. He's still on 1.1k minerals after warping in 8 units. Like, he definitely got caught with his pants down here, and the macro button definitely slipped for MaNa. Like, this whole situation, it was critical for both of them. Like, it was very chaotic. They both wanted to kill the other one, but uThermal definitely comes out on top.
Yeah, no, well, getting this base pressure has just been huge. The army was kind of pulled around every different way. The Widow Mines generated some pretty nice value too. And unlike uThermal, who had those medevacs on the side, right, to try and catch him when that big push came towards him earlier, it's that Prism was not left anywhere with like a couple Zealots to try and backstab or, you know, punish uThermal for moving out with everything. And that's stuff like that is starting to add up. We're seeing a little bit of that speed from uThermal come into play, that mechanical prowess versus, you know, MaNa's more strategically minded setup.
Oh, look at that. That's a minefield and a half right there, and quite a few units are picked off. The disruptors are used on the mines, not on this army. I think MaNa, that was a misplay and a half, that was, because this army from uThermal, it's massive, and without disruptors, he used it to clear up mines. Oh, MaNa, that was a blunder.
Yeah, I really wanted to get rid of those mines, but ends up costing him as he didn't have anything else to stop that giant bio ball, and uThermal gets the 2-0.